I am so excited today, you guys, because we get to talk to someone that I look up to, someone that is actually, well, let me backpedal, okay? Or I want to tell you that you've been hearing me speaking on this show about my mentor and how I also have a mentor and how all of us coaches have coaches, right? And that person I was referring to, that person I was always mentioning to you, that person who taught me so much over the past year is with us today. And I am just, this is like so special to me because this is a woman who showed me what's possible. And when I think of Meredith, I think of this, like, first thing that comes up is this big smile, this warm smile. And that's how she's known all across the social media, all across the internet, all across the real world. She is a huge speaker. She is someone that's been on TV. TV is her second home. That's where she started. I'll let her tell you guys how it went for her, and I'll let her share her story. So Meredith, welcome to our show. I am just so grateful that you're here today, and I cannot wait to hear all you get to share with our audience today.
Well, what an honor. I don't think I've ever had such a lovely, lovely introduction. And it is so good to be back with you. I've actually missed you. When I don't get to connect with Lenka, it's sad. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I am. So over the past year, we had so many coaching calls, and every single one of them opened me to something new. And I don't know how you do it. It was just always like I discovered a part of me that was missing. And Meredith has this gift to do that. And you're also very gifted with speaking. And when we introduced you to our audience in our Facebook group, I introduced you with your former career. I said you're a journalist. Could you tell us all about your former career, what you've been through, how you grew, and then we'll transition into what made you decide to leave that phenomenal career and become a coach?
Absolutely. Well, first things first, I had a very, very fortunate experience when I was in high school, Lenka. And it started with an assembly, and I entered a very large high school. To this day, it's one of the largest in the United States. It feels like an airport when you arrive. It's so huge. And that can be very intimidating as a new student. And I remember just walking into my first assembly like, whoa, this is big. It was stadium seating. And there was a man in the audience, and he looked up, and he was a vice principal, but as far as I knew, he was just this amazing energy speaker. And he said, every single one of you, take a look to your left, a look to your right.
Mhm.
Everybody here at this moment has equal opportunity, but I want you to know that less than 1% of the world sets goals. So
Mm.
if you set goals from this moment forward for your dreams, your life, your wishes, you are going to be 99% ahead of the rest of the world. And that was it. From that moment forward, two things happened. I recognized the power of public speaking, how you can literally reach into people's hearts and touch them and motivate them and inspire them. And I was hooked on this idea. And at the same time, I became at that point a goal setter and later a goal crusher, which has propelled me and stretched me in ways beyond imagine. I am, and I will be more than delighted to share with you and your viewers, sitting above yachts and palm trees and this view right outside of my window. But that was not my reality growing up. I grew up in a cold, northeastern neighborhood, hating and cursing every day, bundling up, going to school, saying, someday I'm going to California and I'm never going to have winter again. But believe it or not, I fell into journalism because I recognized I had a passion for sharing people's stories. What I didn't realize is that that would take me on a journey all over the United States, because in television you really kind of go where the work is. You don't wake up, and I lived at the time in a very big city, and it's just not common, when you're a newbie like I was straight out of college, to get a job in a huge city
Oh,
on air, which is what I aspire to do. As a journalist, I wanted to very much to have the microphone and interview people, and I fell in love with the fact that every person on earth has a story within them. But Lenka, I also became very disenchanted through the years. I got a little tired of moving frequently, which I did over and over again.
mm,
For I served NBC in West Virginia, ABC in Vermont. Careful what you wish for with your dream. Is it sometimes sacrifices must be made, right? But I didn't think it was something for forever. And I took those plunges. And ultimately, when I got to the top of my game, I was burnt out. I
mm,
did not like that every day the news was fire, murder, murder, fire, and sometimes side of
mm.
kidnapping. As you can imagine, that wears on your soul, not speaking of happy news. And it's just not very common. Think about it when you turn on the news to see that. And so I learned beautiful lessons about how to help people speak powerfully and quickly, and what showing up powerfully on camera, or even when you're only saying two sentences, how to make them meaningful and impactful. And those are skills that have served me for forever. But it wasn't my destiny, as I thought for many years, to retire Barbara Walters or Oprah Winfrey.
Right.
However, what I learned, yeah, is that we all need a little bit of help. I certainly did. Like you were saying earlier, I really resonated with your message, Linka, that I have a coach, and I will always have a coach. And I actually mentor people all over the world. This week, I got a bunch of new clients. They are in Greece, Turkey. I had a client in Saudi Arabia and Ecuador, and two new ones in Canada, all within a week's time, right? So we can now impact people all over the world. But the truth is, we all have a beautiful, gorgeous story. So my heart is always in deeply connecting with my clients. I do not like you, Lenka. I love you. And it's always a joy. I've always looked forward to our connections. You are so open to leveling up. And those are the people that we want to surround ourselves with.
Yes.
And, I don't think I would ever get tired of hearing more about your personal story. So someday, Lenka and I were just talking, we get to have coffee. We're nearby neighbors. But in this weird world now, it's not just on television where we connect. It is more prominent and dominant that the fastest growing audience that I've discovered in the world is online.
Mm.
So, actually, Lenka, you would probably be thrilled to know. I don't know if I shared, this is new. I'm flying to Dallas next month to tape my own Amazon Prime special. It's going to be like a TEDx style talk. And my subject is new. I used to talk about marketing and messaging, which I still love. But right now, it's about change. We get to change and keep changing because the world is changing at rapid speed. And that is our fun and our leadership. So tell me what else you would like to know, because I could go on and on about those subjects. All of them really light me up. But sharing our stories and
I
being a
love it.
journalist across so many networks and states, is really a connecting point for me, because every single one of you watching has an amazing story. Whether you've shown up with it, whether you've shared it, or you're clear on it, is irrelevant. I know confidently I can say, if we were to get together, I would find it. And you have it.
There's so much gold in what you just said. You mentioned we each have a story, each of us, right? What I teach people and what I wrote my book about is how growing up we were given these gifts, right? And sometimes we thought that these were like misfortunes or something that we struggled with or we were a victim to. And many times looking back, it's like these were the biggest gifts these people gave us because it taught us so much, and we got to like choose what we want to take from this and like grow as a person, right? So all these little things. So where I'm going with this is change is good, like you said. We each have a story, and it's up to us how we create it. Like what we do with our life. we are all 100% responsible for what's going on in our life and how we respond to that, right?
I'm going to tell you a story that I don't often share, but I think at this point I'm confident and comfortable enough that somebody out there needs to hear this story.
Mm.
Um, I was always obsessed with working in television, and then when you have an obsession, sometimes you're not even like, you're just on automatic. You're like, this is the career I chose, I get to do it, but it didn't fulfill me, as I was talking about earlier. And I took a job which was horrible pay. My boyfriend at the time was like, "What are you doing? Why would you take such low pay?" But to me, I thought it was a dream because it was working on a morning show for a CBS station. And I love, you've even seen me probably pop up in the morning and do a motivational talk on Facebook. I just think the morning, we need something uplifting to start our day. But it wasn't that. It was actually more, even though it has a little bit more a morning show of happy stories, perhaps, it's dominated by dark things, by shootings, by who was robbed overnight, and so on and so on. And ultimately, this wore on me, and the hours were horrific.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I literally was the manager of the morning show. I also got to be on the air. But when people called out sick, here's the problem: when you're the boss in a low budget place, you get to come in earlier. So if I was not due to be in at 3 a.m., but the midnight person called out, I would have to go in, and I would lose 3 hours sleep. It is what it is. When you're the boss, you've got to fill in. So this pattern of sleep deprivation, bordering on sheer misery with the actual work. And I began to become physically unwell. When you don't sleep regularly, there is a toll that your body takes, but we don't often think about our psyche. So I became miserable. That's the short answer. And I received an email from a doctor, and the doctor said, "Meredith, can you help me save lives?" He sent me a LinkedIn note. And I thought, tell me more, something with purpose. Well, it turns out this doctor was a colon cancer specialist. And he believed that with early screening, you could literally prevent cancer. Like, there are symptoms that you will see that you could scoop out whatever you detect, and you can save lives. And I thought, oh my God, how lovely. So what happened was, he had a real marketing issue.
Mhm.
Nobody wanted to get a colonoscopy. That doesn't sound fun or pleasant or on your agenda, right? So I said, but he was actually a funny, lovely person. So I said, well, would you trust me to create something that would grab attention, would be silly, but might really work for you? And he said, okay, I'm up for anything. Well, Lenka, he had a 5K race that he usually bought a team in. It was called the Colon Cancer Awareness Race. And my marketing juices were always flowing. And I thought, why don't you sponsor this year? And he said, okay, that's not too unique though. And I said, well, however, when the day of the race comes, we will not create pens to give out to everybody in their race packet or notebooks, because that's boring. We will give out bright pink panties. And on the back of them, they will say, "Leave no behind behind," with your website and phone number. So he said, all right, make it happen. So we showed up with our massive amount of panties. There was a shortage, Lenka, of panties,
Wow.
and they were such a hit. Imagine this: the entire race, they started putting the panties on because they thought they were so funny, over their shorts, over their pants. The entire race, thousands of people had "Leave no behind" on their backside, my doctor's phone number, the website. The news stations came because I promoted it, and I had some friends in that town. Fox and ABC, NBC, CBS picked up the pink panties, and it was like pink panty pandemonium. It was the most awesome media storm. And the next day on the newspaper, "Leave no behind." It was a slow news day. My doctor got picked up with his panties. But ultimately, the most rewarding thing I discovered is that when you help people, whether it's with a funny message, a unique marketing mission, this doctor increased his revenue over $1 million in under 9 months. I actually had to help him recruit new doctors to handle the volume.
Yeah.
And I started to think, why am I torturing myself when a beautiful gift happened? I got called into the news director's office, and it was a little nerve wracking, and they fired me. I've never told that story before. I usually just say, I got an email and I felt my calling. But the truth is, it was terrifying. But I had never hated a job more. And it was such a blessing. So it perfectly explains what you were describing, that sometimes in the middle of a storm,
Yeah.
we get a gift that is packaged in a way that's terrifying. Certainly, I had bills to pay. But what it brings up that I would challenge you, Lenka, and everybody who's watching to consider is, how far are you willing to go to be miserable? Because you can spend your whole life sleep deprived, thinking that you're doing the right thing, exhausted, but still showing up. I mean, I lived on, when I worked that shift, nothing but coffee, and I was having spasms in my legs. My doctor said, "You got to stop this job. It's going to kill you." And it might have. So, what a gift. They actually fired me. I got unemployment. And the doctor started hiring me shortly thereafter. And a business was born. So the short answer is, I never wanted to coach people on their marketing and messaging and mission, but the universe thought differently. My mother
Mm.
always said, "Your gift is marketing. Why don't you do that? The hours will be better." Now, of course, my mom, coming from the mentality of being a worker bee, thought I'd get a job. But as the universe delivered, people really need help finding the best way to express themselves, to package themselves, to promote themselves. And it's been a wonderful, wild journey ever since. And what I have learned, Lenka, is that leadership that you referenced is the game changer.
Yeah.
And I will never forget when I was going through leadership several years ago. I had another doctor client, but this one was not very nice. In fact, he was borderline plain crazy and very ornery and difficult. And we got into a disagreement. And he was one of the highest paying gigs I'd had in a long time. And I live in California. And my dad had just passed away. So I was honored to take in my mom, support her. And I had such a nice income. And we got into a disagreement. And the doctor said, "You're fired." And I said, "Great, I'm leaving." And then I went, oh, like reality set in. Oh no. So what did I do, Lenka? I called my coach, and I will never, ever forget what she said. She was quiet for 1 second when I told her I got fired and I'm in big trouble and I've got so many bills and I've got my mom to take care of. I'm terrified. It's in what we call a spin. She said, "This is awesome. This is the best thing that could ever happen, because you hated that job. You hated working with that doctor. And now you get to focus on everything that you love." And I went, "What?" And she was like,
Yeah.
"Get up out of your seat and let's celebrate." And literally, like in that moment, everything shifted. And you know
Yeah.
what? She was right. The clients came on Facebook. They started messaging me like, I was broadcasting and sharing my story, and so people resonated with losing their dad and being in transition. I got a client like that
Mm.
through Facebook Messenger, Lenka, for several $1,000s. So the universe is never wrong. I think it, as you said, is often how we choose to react to it. And I chose not to hide and cry and put the covers over my head. I called my coach and I said, "This is it." And even though I felt like things were over in an instant, she made me see that the opportunity comes when we're in adversity. So I think it's a beautiful story to open up about. Getting fired could be great. Losing your job, getting laid off could be the most wonderful gift that you never expected or ever wanted.
Yes, and many of our audience are in that place right now. So, what I heard you say, you chose the coaching career because you found out you're great at that. You enjoyed the marketing, you are a great speaker. These are the gifts that God gave you, right? And you worked with that and you created a beautiful opportunity for yourself. So this is really cool. You guys start thinking about, what am I already good at? What do I get to work with here, right? What are my talents? What is my passion? What's my calling? Like, you already know it deep inside. Now it's time for you to start acting on it. Get a coach and create a business and monetize that, right? So, Meredith, what are three
That's
things, three tips that you would give to someone who is just getting started with their business online? What do they need to know?
Number one, don't be a lone wolf. I tried that for so long. And as a marketing person, I see so many people waste so much money just trying new things for their beginning, and being alone, it never feels good or easy. There is zero chance, I'm going to show it again, that I'd be living, with my dream view here with the palm trees behind me and the beautiful water, if I just chose to try to do it my own. Anybody who tells you that, question them. You get to do it yourself. No, you don't have to be alone. So don't lone wolf is number one. Number two, don't be afraid to fail. It's been a huge journey for me, but some of the most wonderful things have come out of taking risks. I am presently living in the most expensive place in my life. So you know what that means, Linga? Guess. I get to make more money than I've ever made in my life. Awesome. And when you're living that abundance, and like we say in a frequency, just choose to walk through that fear. Go for it anyway, because the regret will only be in never trying. We
Mhm.
never get to the end of our lives and say, oh, I did everything, that's great. There's always, I wished I could have. And so if we start to really reframe our lives with the opportunity to make the change now, I would. And then the third thing is to get really honest with yourself. Stop tolerating life. Don't tolerate your job. Don't tolerate that you may never have your dream.
Yeah.
It does not lead to fulfillment, and you deserve to find your gifts. And if you don't know what they are, that's great. That's what coaches are for, programs are for. I know Lenka takes a stand that she wants to support women all over the world, and entrepreneurs everywhere have to start someday. So literally take some action and get started.
Thank you. Aren't you guys glad that we are here in our community? No lone wolfing here, right? We are together. We are with our experts. We get to learn together. We get to try it on. We get to ask questions. This is what it is about. We get to connect and make those powerful new relationships start and happen. And so, with that said, I know you brought a gift to our audience. What is it, Meredith?
Thank you, Lenka. Well, it's an honor to share some of my wisdom that I've accumulated through my entire career of promoting others. And I believe that we all have a special formula that works just for us to become more visible. You must be seen and heard in order to get hired. So, my gift is 18 ways to raise your visibility, because there are so many free or easy ways to get yourselves connected, visible, and out there. And I encourage you to grab the list and take some committed action, and maybe just contact two out of the whole list, to start the process, or begin working on two things, and make it a mission to really live the dream. And the dream begins with taking action.
How perfect. Thank you so much for the gift. Thank you so much for all your wisdom that you shared with us today. It was a pleasure. And thank you so much for your time. And we get to see you and hang out with you inside the group, which I cannot wait for. And I just want to say, Meredith, you are such a blessing to so many people. And we really appreciate you. And we wish you the best. May your career thrive forever.
Well, same to you. What a joy to be connected with you and to be on this program. And what an honor it is to be a part of getting to know all of you. And I look forward to seeing the extraordinary connections that are going to be made. And I'm delighted to be here. Thank you, Lenka. It's an honor.
Thank you. And for you, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you tomorrow with another wonderful episode. Have a great one.